Heads up. If you have kids around,
parental advisory is in effect.
This is the Bonus Bone Podcast with Lamont and Tonelli.
It's like water torture.
Baby Huey.
Chasta.
Welcome back to the Bonus Bone Podcast.
Woot-woot.
Chasta.
Wow, that was an early woot-woot.
He's very revved
Premature
up today.
woot-woot.
Yes.
I am, because I love this subject today.
Chasta, Lamont, and Tonelli, and Baby Huey. And we are talking about the fickle finger of fate.
The fickle finger of fate. And how your life would have changed just by one chance little decision in your life. Your whole life would be different.
Well, I mean, isn't that also kind of the butterfly effect? Well,
Yes.
How one tiny little thing can just
The
have a
butterfly
ripple
effect.
effect.
Oh, yes. We've seen that around the building, actually, over the years.
Yes.
Yes, we call it something different than the butterfly effect, but we will not say that on this podcast. I do not want to get that drama started. Anywho, all right, so you brought this up, Lamont, so I'm going to let you just run with the fickle finger of fate.
Well, I'm saying if just one little decision would have been different in your life, and there might have been a good reason to make that decision, your whole life would have been different. And I'm going to start off with myself. When I first got a job at KSJO. And I will tell you, the first 3 months were hell. If you listened to that radio station before we got there, you were pissed off that they fired the guy before we got there. And by the way, they fired him close to a year and a half before we got there.
Oh, wow,
But
really?
people loved this guy so much. He was a shock jock, Perry Stone. People were so pissed off that they fired him, they vowed they would never listen to the radio station.
And then you guys come in.
And then the people that didn't like him vowed that they were never going to listen to that radio station again because they had him there. So we were between a rock and a hard place when they threw Tonelli and I together.
That's a true story.
We had never met before. They threw us together, and it takes time for a show to gel. So I was there for, I would say, about 6 months to maybe 9 months. And at the 9-month mark, things just started moving for us. Then all of a sudden, the show started catching on. But I had a 2-year contract, all right? And while I was there after 9 months, I got a call from a buddy of mine who was he just got the job at CFNY in Toronto. Now, if you know the song Spirit of Radio by Rush, that song is about CFNY.
Right.
And it's a legendary friggin' radio station where the jocks brought in their own records and they did whatever the fuck they wanted on the radio. And that's why it was such a legendary station. So I got a call from a buddy of mine that I had worked for in Canada. And he said, hey, I want you to be my morning guy in Toronto, which is like the New York of Canada.
Sure.
Okay. And he said, I'm going to make it worth your while. He was offering me like $1 million a year. Asterisk there, Canadian. Okay, so at that time there was probably a 30% difference in salary, and so I'm crunching the numbers, and then the taxes are heavier in Canada, so I'm still crunching the numbers, but it was a shitload of money to go there.
Yeah.
And he says, I want you to start. You need to start here in a month. And I go, oh, okay. There's a problem here. First off, things are really starting to gel here for me and Tonell. And I've got a 2-year contract. And I read my contract, and if I was fired, I wouldn't have owed the radio station anything. As a matter of fact, they would have had to pay me out for the
rest of your contract.
For the rest of my contract, which at that time was like a year and a half. So I'm thinking, cha-ching, this is double payday, right?
Yeah.
However, if I quit, according to my contract, I would have to reimburse them for moving fees, for legal fees, for airline. They put me up for like a month to 6 weeks at a hotel that I would have had to reimburse them for. It would have been a shitload of money.
Yeah.
So I said, King, tell you what. That was his nickname. King, tell you what. Give me a couple of weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see if I can get fired. But there's no way they're firing me. Now, another consideration was Tonell. I got to know Tonell over 9 months. And Tonell, we gelled, and he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, if I go, I want to bring my on-air partner with me, Paul Tonelli. And
Right.
they said, Sure, no problem. What does he want to get paid? So I got him a nice little friggin' salary too. But the thing is, if we would have decided, and then I called the guy back, I said, nah, things are good here. I'm going to let this one roll. Mm-hmm. If we would have decided to move to Canada, and it would have been like a 2-3 year deal, guaranteed, it would have been a lot of money for me, but my whole life would have been different. I would have, I was here on a work visa. I told him, I said, I'll never get a work visa again. So I probably wouldn't have ended up moving to the States, wouldn't have met my wife, wouldn't have had kids. It just one fickle finger of fate.
That's it.
Would have changed my life and Tonelli's life.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. He wouldn't have got married to
were you
Lisa.
with Lisa at the time that this was almost a decision?
At the time,
we were in a little timeout.
You were on a break? Yeah.
We dated for like a year and a half, and then we took like a 2 to 3 year break.
Yeah, you were
never knew
definitely in your
that.
timeout on that one.
I never knew that.
Tonelli would have been married to probably a Canadian girl, and who knows, right?
Wow.
Sully wouldn't have a radio career.
No, he wouldn't have.
He would have still been at like the Stop and Go, getting fired there
Yeah.
for poking holes in the condoms,
Yeah, right.
God, that's a wild thought.
right? And just one little
that's all it
decision.
takes.
And you were close to doing that. I mean, that
Very
was
well. It was close because the money. I mean, seriously, if
Sure.
someone came to you, even though it was Canadian money and the taxes, but I said, there are a couple of things that were against that too. First off, the work visa not coming back to the States because that's the largest market in Canada. Let's say if we work there 4 or 5 years, and then it doesn't work out there. Then what do? It's nothing but downhill because and I'm not saying the other cities are downhill, but they're not as big as working in Toronto.
Sure.
Right.
So then all of a sudden, Paul and I are working in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Paul and I are working in Calgary or Edmonton.
Right.
And he's traipsing all over Canada.
And I'm buying heavy coats.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's
The hair on your back would have kept you warm.
Chewbacca would have been fun.
But
right.
one little decision would change your freaking life totally.
Forever. Do
Right?
you have one like that to know?
Oh, at every turn.
Yeah.
It's trying to narrow it down to which one. I mean, the UPS story is classic.
Yeah, that
We've
is
talked
classic.
about that on the podcast.
When you crashed the truck and as a result didn't get hired.
Crash the truck. I clipped a parked car.
I have a feeling UPS has a different version of that
Yes,
story.
exactly.
But
No,
anyway.
I clipped a parked car, broke a taillight.
Yeah.
But that led to me not getting a UPS job on a Friday, and then Monday getting the call from Gil O'Hara, the old news director, with a tip about a traffic reporting job that I took. So I never would have gotten that phone call if I would have been working at UPS on that Monday after getting the job Friday, which I didn't get because I
That's crazy.
clipped the park car.
These moments give me chills. Like, just
Right?
thinking-
I
So
mean,
that's
you
a
just
big
never
one.
know.
You
But
never
even
know.
before that, I had put broadcasting on the back burner to go to pharmacy school in Idaho.
And he took drugs.
And I took drug for 2 years. Then I got better.
Can't help
And I'm
himself.
going to school. I'm like, okay, broadcasting's not in the cards. I'll get into the family business. And
Drugs.
we're getting drunk one night in the dorm, playing cards, a bunch of guys,
Yeah.
and drinking beers and playing poker and stuff like that. Friday night, trying to figure out what we're going to do. Hey, let's start out play some cards before we
I
go out to
noticed
the
there
bar.
wasn't a woman in that equation.
No, well, the dorms were split up, by the way.
Okay.
Male dorms and female dorms. It was before they had the co-ed dorms.
Yeah.
And there was a guy playing cards that night. And if I would have gone out and done something different, I wouldn't have been there. And this guy had a part-time job at a radio station in town. He had an overnight graveyard shift for 2 nights a week.
Is that the blind guy?
No. Blind
okay.
guy was later.
Okay.
Friday night and Saturday night. And he just randomly threw out in the middle of the card game that he was tired of giving up his weekends doing the graveyard shift. Anybody here interested in picking up a shift? I'm trying to get out of the job, but the program director said I need to find somebody to fill in
I
for
like
me.
the fact that
Wow.
the program director puts it
Put it
upon
on
his
him.
staff to hire
I know.
other people.
It's a graveyard shift on a 1,000 watt AM country western radio station.
Right.
Program director didn't give a shit. He just said,
Right.
get somebody in here to do graveyards.
Yeah.
So I did that, and that's what led to my job in Idaho that
So if
eventually
it
became
wasn't
full time.
for booze and gambling,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be in radio.
Booze, gambling, and poor driving. That's a true story.
Those are two things, though. Just the booze and gambling is kind of responsible for radio.
Yeah, well, then I was a natural then.
Yeah.
It was written
If
in the
that's what it
stars, as
takes,
I like
yes.
to
But
say.
yeah, if I didn't have that conversation with that guy at that moment that night, if I would have been out in a bar somewhere or done something different on that Friday night, I probably never would have taken that job in Pocatello
Right.
and never would have gotten into radio.
Wow.
I never would have had a chance to crash the
The
UPS
fickle
truck.
finger of fate.
Yeah, I know. Fickle
Pointed
finger of fate.
upon Tonelli.
I got a fickle hand of fate. I got 5 fingers of fate that point right at me.
That's really,
Yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff.
that's fascinating. What about you, Huey?
Similar to kind of like Paul and
God, I
even Lamont
hope
too. Well, no, but it's as far as radio goes. So I started here August 05, but the summer of 2004, I applied for a promotions job with the radio station across the street. Super excited to apply. It was like my first job out of high school. I was trying to look forward to, and it's a station I grew up listening to. Even though I kind of stopped listening to them for a bit just because they kind of changed the format a little bit.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
But they were playing like indie rock bands and stuff that I wasn't into anymore. So I went through the job interview process thinking just my pure passion for radio and love for music would get by to get hired for the job. No, I didn't get the job. Like 2 weeks later, I got the email saying, we found other people for the job. So I was pissed. Like, I was like, oh my God, the station I grew up loving doesn't want me.
Aw.
So do I have a future in radio? So instead, I did college radio. And then the following year, applied to the Bone, got hired here, met all you guys, and the rest is history from that standpoint. But I always think about if I would have got hired at that other station, would I still be in radio to this day? Or since that station has sucked in so many ways over the years.
And so many people gotten laid off. You would have probably at some point.
I probably would have been gone from that station at some point. Maybe I would have lost my passion at that point, or thought, oh, this place sucks. I want to get out of radio and do something else. So I always wonder about that. If I would have got hired there, would I still be in radio?
And let me add something to this too, because the fickle finger of fate, when you were on our show, helping our show, I remember when we made you full time, and that's because you put a suppository in your ass.
Yes.
You did.
And if you
That
wouldn't
is
have
a
done that, you
faithful
probably
And then he put
Sorry.
another one. And then he put another one.
Yeah.
And then another one.
So my own finger controlled my fate there. But I still remember the person who rejected me. I still to this day know that person's name. So if I ever
Are they
like
still in
Lamont,
this market?
no, they got a radio to do something else. But no, I'm like Lamont. I'm very vengeful. Like
Yeah.
if
Oh,
I
me
ever,
too.
if
I still remember a guy turned me down.
if I ever have
Really?
the opportunity to tell that person off or whatever, I would totally do it.
funny.
So I still think about that
That's
person's name.
another topic. Funny jobs we didn't get. I didn't get hired at Victoria's Secret.
What? Me too.
I can't imagine why. That's so weird.
But if you would have been hired, if you would have got hired at Victoria's Secret, you might not have got into radio.
I wouldn't have ended up working for Sean Astin.
Right.
That would because I was trying to get a job when I
Yes.
moved to Hollywood, and I was like, and Victoria's Secret was a block away from where I lived in Hollywood.
Right. How
I was like,
great
all
would
right.
that
That might have
been?
led to a career in
In fashion
lingerie.
or
Exactly.
lingerie. You
Sure.
never know.
Could have been a store manager and then in the other upper level management.
Could have
Yes.
been in retail. Could have
Sure.
went completely different direction.
You could have been a UPS manager.
You could have been a UPS manager. I could have run a Victoria's Secret store.
I would have
could
been in Canada.
You'd be in Canada, and you'd be who knows what if you would have said screw it with radio. What would have been your plan B?
I don't know. I always thought about teaching.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
I know. What a dick.
Wow.
They both had like
would you be a grammar teacher?
I'm not.
yes. Damn you.
English. Who needs English? I'm never going to English.
The influence of Baby Huey spreading far and wide. Boy, what a legacy.
No, but if teachers are my family, so I thought maybe something like that. So I don't know. I never really thought about that point. It's just been
I could have stayed in Sulphur and run a bowling alley.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
seriously.
I inherited a bowling alley. If
Yes.
I would have moved home, I could have, went down that path. My radio story is similar. I called up because my mom was getting married to my stepdad, and I wanted to throw her a bachelorette party. I may have told the story already, but
No, I love
follow
this
me.
so far.
Okay. So my mom was getting remarried, and I was like, all right, I want to do something fun and show her a good time. So I decided, what better way than to go to an Aerosmith show to throw her a bachelorette party with some of my sorority sisters.
Right.
So I called.
Your mother was at that show?
Yeah, I took her to that show.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Did you bring her friends as well, or just the sorority sisters?
it was just me, her, and a couple of my sorority sisters.
Right.
Yeah. I have pictures of that night. Fateful night. Anyway, I called Rock 100.5 The Cat in Oklahoma City. Legendary station. I cannot say that enough. Been there for 50-something years. And I called into the jock, Greg Zubek. He was doing middays. And all I was asking was, where do I get tickets? Because this is back in the day before, online,
Computer
really. Like,
stuff.
you would go to the box office or go to
stand there and line up for tickets.
Or
and
like
wait for
record
them.
stores would sometimes have
The
tickets that they
good
would
old
sell.
days.
Yeah. So it was
when
a legitimate
computers weren't getting blocks of tickets and blocking people out.
and fees.
Right.
Before the big
Yes.
time fees. So anyways, I called him and just said, hey, where could I get Aerosmith tickets? He and I hit it off, had like 10, 15-minute conversation. I made him laugh, and he offered me an internship over the phone.
Wow, look at
I
that.
thought you were hot. That's why.
Very
you know
possibly.
what? This is before FaceTime too.
I was, yeah.
Oh, she's got a sexy voice.
I was 20 years old. And by the way,
it's sexy 20
he's
year old.
still there. This was 21 years ago. He's still.
Oh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding. He came with the building. He's going out with the
Right.
building. He's going to die on the microphone. Great guy. Love, love, love Greg Zubek. Anyway, he offered me an internship, and I always loved radio as a music nut, but I never thought it was something that I could even do. It never even an option in my head. And so I was like, F yeah. So I went there. I lied because you were supposed to get credit, in college for that. And
Yeah.
they were like, are you going to get credit for this internship?
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
like,
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet. Absolutely.
I faked the letterhead. I faked
yeah.
that.
We've been involved in a few of those
all of it.
situations,
Yes.
which ended our internship program here.
Nay on the internship A. Yeah, Jesus, I forgot about that.
Of course, I'm getting credit.
Yeah.
Little inside baseball. I guess things never changed. do they?
No.
Anyway, and I got the internship, and that's how I got into radio, which is pretty wild because had I never made that phone call, I can't imagine how I would have ever got into radio because I
Right.
never even really thought about it. It kind of
Yeah.
fell into my lap.
Yep.
See, you would have been the woman on the ranch cutting off testicles.
I very well could have. That would have been my life.
Bulls and pigs.
Well, those were my
Before
options.
your night at the bowling alley.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, those were my options.
Queen of the balls, each way you look.
And there's your clip right there.
There you go, Serrano. That was an easy one. We started that one
Like
up for you.
cigarettes and stale booze.
And then into sexy lingerie and Victoria's Secret.
Wow. My possible...
The Fickle Finger of Fate has
telling
many
you,
options
I'm
for
like,
you.
wow, between lingerie and ball cleaning,
And Aerosmith.
it's really unfortunate that I
See,
ended
it's
up in radio.
Aerosmith is what changed your life.
I mean, that's
and your
true.
mom getting married.
That's absolute truth.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And my mom got married to the guy who owned the ranch that taught me about cutting off balls.
Wow. Full
What?
circle.
Full circle.
It really does come full circle, doesn't it? Oh my God, I love it. All right, well, if you have a fickle finger of fate, I'm surprised how well I'm saying that today. I thought I would really botch that. If you have one of those moments, I won't try it again. You can leave them on the Bone voicemail. By the way, I got like 5 today, and 3 of them were bitch fest. I'm like, I don't even finish listening to those. If you're just calling to be an a-hole, I just delete it, just so you know. I can't, hashtag ain't nobody got time for that. But if you want to leave us a legitimate voicemail where you're not being an a-hole, 415-995-7077. It's up at 1077thebone.com as well. All right, Huey, hit us with the lowdown, what the kids say.
Subscribe to our podcast, 1077 The Bone, wherever you get your audio at. If you listen to us at Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating.
Just a little Fickle Finger of Fate on that one.
yeah.
And 5 fingers.
One thumb. Leave a review there. And then
Oh,
subscribe.
that's all it is then.
Subscribe to the Bones YouTube channel. Hit the thumbs up button there.
There you go.
There's a thumb up
Fickle
there.
thumb of fate.
Leave a comment.
Ooh, I
You
like
can also
that.
leave a comment in the video as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, share the podcast, all that good stuff.
All right, is that it for now? Do we leave it there? By the way, I'm probably going to fail at this, but I'm going to put it out there. We're going to try to do some spooky stuff on the next couple of weeks leading up to Halloween. You know, like psychics and tarot cards and ghosts and zombies and oh my.
Yes.
Should be fun. So we'll see what happens. So stay tuned. Thanks for being here, guys.